Welcome to the Casuals Guide to UFC Fight Night Rozenstruik vs. Gaziev, where I show you filthy casuals why this card is going to be a banger. So smash that like button and let's get right into it. In the main event, Jairzinho Bigi Boi Rozenstruik protects his number 12 ranking against the undefeated Shamil Gaziev. Rozenstruik is a very experienced kickboxer. He is 7-5 in the UFC. He has shown he has some great hands and even greater power. 12 of his 13 wins are by knockout or TKO, and he has some great knockout wins over Andrei Arlovski, Alistair Overeem, Junior Dos Santos, and Augusto Sakai. And this is the second fight in a row where he is being tasked with an upcoming prospect. In his most recent fight, he was matched up with the Brazilian grappler Jailton Almeida, and he would get absolutely dominated on the ground until he was submitted via rear naked choke all in the first round. He might have to once again try to fend off a grappling attack when he faces Shamil Gaziev. Shamil won his contract on the Contender Series when he submitted Greg Velasco in the very first round. He made his UFC debut against Martin Bude at UFC 296, where he would win via TKO in the second round. He looked impressive and his striking is dangerous in its own right. He has 8 wins by knockout or TKO, but it might be his submission threat that could be the answer. He has 3 wins by submission, but we might see his grappling if he thinks that is the path of least resistance. With Jairzinho's grappling track record, that seems like a realistic possibility, but will Bigi Boi be able to get back on track and prove that he belongs among the top heavyweights, or will Gaziev break into the rankings as the new guy on the block? Don't miss out. In the co-main event, we get a super fun fight in the light heavyweight division when undefeated prospect Vitor Petrino takes on the revitalized Tyson Pedro. Petrino is 10-0 and has been on fire in the UFC so far. After winning his contract on the Contender Series, he would make his UFC debut against Anton Turkalj, where he would win a unanimous decision. Next, he would get an arm triangle choke against Marcin Prachnio. In his latest fight, he would get an impressive knockout finish when he would land a huge hook that would floor Modestas Bukauskas. 8 of his 10 wins are by finishes, and this guy has been outstanding so far. He's dangerous with the hands and with the grappling. The 26-year-old Brazilian will have to be at his best when he steps into the octagon against Tyson Pedro. Back in 2018, Pedro would go 4 years without a fight due to injuries, and he would return with a bang when he would knock out Ike Villanueva in the first round in his first fight back. And he would follow that up with another first round finish against Harry Hunsucker. And next, he would hit a bump in the road when he would drop a decision to Modestas Bukauskas, but he would get back on track in his latest fight when he would land a highlight knockout against Anton Turkalj. He is a heavy hitting striker with some serious hands. Will Tyson Pedro be able to take Vitor from the ranks of the undefeated, or will Petrino show that he is next in line? Don't miss out. We get a fun flyweight fight when the number 7 ranked Alex Perez defends his spot in the rankings against the number 9 ranked Muhammad Mokaev. Perez has been in the UFC since 2017, but he only has 9 fights. Since 2020, he has 10 canceled bouts, but to be fair to him, only about half were his fault. He is coming off back-to-back submission losses to Davison Figueiredo and to Alejandro Pantoja, and he has shown to be vulnerable to submissions. 5 of his 7 losses have come by submission, and he's going to have to protect his neck because Mokaev is a very dangerous grappler. Muhammad Mokaev exploded onto the scene when he would make his UFC debut against Cody Durden. He would lock in a first-round guillotine choke. Next, he would win a unanimous decision win over Charles Johnson. He would get an armbar submission in the 3rd round against Malcolm Gordon, and he would get another 3rd round submission against Jafel Fijo when he locked in a rear naked choke. He would get his most impressive win in his last fight against Tim Elliott. He would lock in an arm triangle choke in the 3rd round. He is a super dangerous grappler. Will Alex Perez be able to stop the rise of Muhammad Mokaev, or will the Punisher be able to bring the pain once again? Don't miss out. Ranked flyweights clash when the number 9 ranked Matt Danger Schnell takes on the 12 ranked Steve AstroBoy Erceg. Matt Schnell is 6-5 in the UFC, but bruh, this guy doesn't know what a boring fight is. He is a kill or be killed type of fighter, and he lost his last fight to Mateus Nicolau when he would get dropped and finished in the 2nd round. Before that, he would get absolutely smashed in the 1st round by Sumudaerji. I mean, he got absolutely battered. It was much of the same to start the 2nd round, but he would stay in the fight and eventually choke Sumudaerji out. It was a hell of a comeback. I was so hyped when I was watching this unfold. Before that, he would get submitted by Brandon Royval via guillotine choke. And this guy always brings the fight, for better or worse, and he's going to have his hands full when he faces the up-and-coming Steve Erceg. Erceg had an impressive debut when he would get matched up with a ranked fighter in David Dvorak. He would win by unanimous decision, and he debuted in the top 15. In his latest fight, he would face Alessandro Costa, where he would get a solid unanimous decision win. Will AstroBoy blast off into the top 10, or will Matt Schnell show Steve that there is still danger when fighting with him? Don't miss out. The number 13 ranked Umar Nurmagomedov welcomes Bekzet Almakhan to the UFC. Umar's name should be familiar to you casuals. A common misconception is that he is Khabib's brother. This is not true. He is actually Khabib's cousin, and he's actually the brother of Usman Nurmagomedov. He is undefeated at 16-0 and has looked extremely impressive during his run in the UFC so far. He made his UFC debut against Sergey Morozov, where he would lock in the rear naked choke in the second round. He would follow that up with another rear naked choke against Brian Kelleher, and next he would win a unanimous decision win over Nate Maness. In his last fight, he would get a brutal knockout win over Ronnie Barcelos, where he would knock him out cold in the first round. He is a huge submission threat, but he is anything but one-dimensional. He has shown that he has some great hands and some great kicks. He's going to welcome a huge prospect out of Kazakhstan to the UFC. Bekzet Almakhan is 17-1 and is a big finisher. 13 of his 17 wins are by knockout or TKO, and he is a very solid striker. His right hand is straight money, and he has also shown some pretty good wrestling, but these fights are always so difficult to gauge. He has looked really good, but it's always unknown how it will translate to the UFC level, and Umar is definitely one of the higher caliber fighters in the division. If he is not ready, Umar will make quick work of him, but if he is the real deal, which many believe he is, this is going to be a great fight. Don't miss out. Up next, Eric your boy Anders takes on Jamie the Nightwolf Pickett. Both guys have had rough times in the UFC, but have been able to stay in the UFC for a while. Anders is 7-8 in the UFC, while Jamie is 2-6. Anders is coming off a decision loss to Marc-Andre Barrio. Before that, he beat Kyle Dawkins via TKO in the second round. He's got heavy hands, and he's facing another big striker in Pickett. Pickett has been on a pretty bad skid as of late. He's lost his last 4. His losing streak started against Kyle Dawkins when he would lose by submission. Then he would get TKO'd by Dennis Tululin. He would get matched up with Bo Nickel, where he would get submitted via arm triangle choke. In his last fight, he lost a decision to Josh Fremd. Both guys are looking to bounce back, and both guys might be fighting to stay in the UFC. Don't miss out. Alright guys, that was my rundown of the card. I hope you casuals learned a thing or two. It's going to be a great night of fights. Don't forget to tune in, and I'll see you next week for UFC 299 O'Malley vs. Vera, another banger. But until then, protect your neck and take care.
They talking crazy about you. They said
brother,
they smash
who
you.
cares? Who cares, brother? Who cares, brother? Who cares? Today, smash.